to this week's edition of our big program. We are going to go to our guest for this show, Makr Manigold. He is going to be joining us here on the big program. So we are going to go to Makr Manigold, and we are going to ring the group. Because, of course, you always have to ring the group when you're doing the skip Skype, the old skip Skype. You got to ring the group. So we will get with Makr Manigold here in just a few seconds, calling Makr Manigold. And I think Makr Manigold may have joined us here in our program.
Yes, I think I did.
Mark, how are you, sir?
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, actually.
I'm putting on my headphones. You got to...
So, Mark, you have been a busy bee, my friend. Tell me a little bit about some of the different things that you have been up to recently.
Well, I took a swim today. I got my car fixed. I got new tires on the car. Musically, yeah, it's been kind of busy, though. Today has been kind of quiet. The Keys record is out. We're very excited about that.
Yes.
That's a keyboard record that I did with a great singer named Jake E., a Swedish singer who's in a band called Sira and Amaranth. So that seems to be getting some very nice response. It's all keys. I mean, there's guitar sounds on it, but they're generated with keyboards, and we just kind of went crazy. Charlie Calv, another keyboard player, the guy from Angel, helped me out on some bits. So, we went a little further on our crusade to play everything with keyboards.
So why did you guys decide to do this? Because this is a cool idea.
Because we're crazy. I was in a band, American Tears, in the 70s, and it was, a keyboard trio.
Yeah.
I seem to have been, for some reason, just into keyboard sounds, and I wanted to do this record, with all keyboards. I don't play guitar. I think guitar. But now with some of these amazing plugins, I can pretty damn well sound like guitar as well. So we wanted to get that out there. And really, the idea was born out of a vision I had about 6 a.m. of 3 stacks of keyboards and 3 keyboard players on stage with Hammonds and Mellotrons and pianos and just a great singer and a great drummer.
That's awesome.
Just running around like maniacs playing keyboards. So that's, I can't wait to tour it. It's not inexpensive to do that. It is pretty spectacular, but hopefully at some point we'll be able to.
Well, it sounds just fantastic. I think it's amazing that, because one of the things that I've always wondered why modern music doesn't have more of is keyboards, because they make they make some amazing sound. I just find it so strange that more people don't incorporate this damn instrument.
Well, which kind of segues into the new House of Lords record.
Yeah.
James Christian, who's a singer, was of a similar mind as you. It's like, Mark, play more keyboards. Repeat that part. We want symphonies here. So that was music to my ears. He let me go, and I just was able to build on that. It's a lot of it's about the tapestries and not it's all on the Mac computer these days, so it's very accessible.
Yes.
But it's about building tapestries and combinations of sounds that might not be one synthesizer lead. It might be a combination of a bunch of instruments that create this what is that thing?
What is that
That's
thing?
where the fun is, yeah.
I know that it seemed like, I think it was the 80s, there was a lot of keyboards, synthesizers, all that stuff. And you could clearly tell what they were going for and what they were doing, which was fantastic. And then it seemed like it just fell off. I don't know why. I kind of lived through it.
there was a time when if you had keyboards, you were called wimp rock. Just,
Wimp
I mean,
rock. That's awesome.
I was in band Drive, she said, and Touch, and there's a couple of reviews because of the keyboards. Drive, she said, was called wimp rock. It's like, really? So, I think it's perception. The audience for House of Lords, fortunately, really is welcoming the keys. I mean, there are people who just like guitar and don't want these wimpy, symphonic keyboard sounds on it. But it just depends on the audience and people's tastes. So,
Yeah, I was watching the Pluto TV has like an 80s music channel, and I was or a 90s, 80s, 70s, all these various music channels, and I was watching some of that the other day, and I was sitting there thinking, the 60s and the 70s for music was great. The 80s was great. 90s was great. What the hell happened? As it's like the 2000s have you don't have iconic musicians. You don't have it's so strange to me, and it's like, am I an old head, Mark?
No, I mean, being on the front line, okay.
Yes.
In the 60s and 70s, kind of the 80s, it didn't have a label, and everybody wanted to be original.
Yes.
Touch was trying to carve out a sound. We didn't know it was going to be called AOR. We just were trying to carve out a sound. And then once it became a kind of a signature and a genre, people started to emulate it and make it generic until all the originality was just squeezed out of it. And that's kind of the fight that we have right now, is trying to be original and trying to get away with originality with the labels. And I was very fortunate, again, with the House of Lords, that Christian House of Lords are able to kind of do what they want in a way, within certain limitations, but you can kind of be creative and do what you want, as opposed to some other bands where, no, it's got to sound like, it's got to be 4 minutes, and it's just completely turned into this genre that has squeezed all the life out of originality. So that's kind of what I resist, and that's definitely what we were resisting with Keys. Those songs it's almost like, I love goth and I love scathing guitars, and I just hadn't heard any keyboard scathing.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
That's, I wanted that to happen. So a lot of that is happening on the Keys record within the context of, I hope, melodic songs, some big choruses. Jake's an amazing writer, with Seer and Amaranth. He's just written some number of hit songs. So it was in the context of that, but there's a lot of scathing going on the Keys records, which, not generic. It's not fitting into any, people maybe they're calling it prog only because it's keyboards, but it's not necessarily prog. I mean, we have our new single is called Good Times, which I think if it had guitar would be, 80s AOR, but it's all on keys. So it's done with weird sounds that maybe you haven't heard before.
Yeah.
But it's still, the composition is probably, 80s melodic rock, but it doesn't necessarily sound it. And people are calling it prog, which is, all these labels, I just think they're bullshit.
Oh, yeah. I love all the labels. I run into that with the radio industry. There's always these labels. Like in radio, the big thing is you want to be a heritage station. Yeah. Or you want to be hot AC or AC, and I'm like, what does any of that mean? And they're like, adult contemporary.
Can't you be a death country station?
too.
Dude,
I'm like, all this nonsense, all these labels, and I don't know if it's because we've got to get people distracted with other stuff, or I just don't understand the label stuff. It's so strange to me.
There was a time in the 70s when, probably in the same month, Yes came out, and Frank Zappa came out, and Jimi Hendrix came out, and Led Zepp came out, and then Jethro Tull came out playing flute. I mean, there was just such a wide variety of people trying to be creative. And the record labels weren't owned by big corporations. They were just, there was an interview with Frank Zappa, which was beautiful. He just said it was older guys with guitars who didn't know shit, and they just threw it up in the wall. And if people liked it, then they jumped on it.
Yes.
And then all the people came, the young, smart kids came on thinking that they knew everything and started chasing the genres, and then it just got all the life taken out of it.
It's so strange.
But we ignore all that. We don't care about any of that, and we just keep persisting with that 70s and 60s mentality. and
Well, I just always find it so strange with some of this stuff, and I don't know if it's just because this stuff doesn't have to be that hard. It's such a strange deal there, Mark.
It makes it easier to market, I guess.
Well, that too. It's a weird world. But we have got Mark Manigold with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. So, tell me a little bit about some of this, because we're going to play some of these Keys tunes. I've got a link here. We're going to play When Shadows Fall as our first track. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, When Shadows Fall, in my mind, was like the live set opener. It starts out with 3 or 4 dueling keyboards coming from various directions of stereo with different sounds. And in my mind, I mean, I tried to encourage Rick Wakeman to help, join us, and Adam Wakeman, a whole bunch of keyboards, and everybody was so busy. Don Harry, who heard this stuff and I think on board as a fan, but no one could play on it. So I just had to go into my emulating. Okay, I'm going to be Keith Emerson right now, and just have these keyboard duels. So it started out with that, with a very, I think, dark and catchy chorus. So it really, talk about scathing. That was dueling keyboards.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've heard of
with very simple AC/DC drums that have been, people say, why are the drums so simple? I don't know. I was listening to, Back in Black at the time, and I just wanted to hear a bass drum and a snare. I didn't want to all that busy stuff. So, maybe if I ever get back and re-record it again, it'll have a busier drum. But yeah, that's the thinking on the drums.
Well, I've heard of dueling pianos, but I've never heard of dueling keyboards.
You could have elephant sounds. I mean, you can just do anything with keyboards.
Anytime, we go and cover, any type of live music and I run into a keyboard player, I'm just like, they do exist. So, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to place you on a brief hold here on Skype. We are going to play this track. And when we come back, we have got more with Mark Manigold. It is the latest. It is Keys, and it is here on our big program. is When Shadows Fall, and that is keys. And we are going to go back to Mark Manigold. He is going to be back with us. We're going to rejoin Mark here on our big program. That track is like a roller coaster of sound. That thing is amazing. You have all the instruments, and then you have the actual singing kick in. That is amazing.
Thank you.
You guys should be damn proud of yourselves. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, when can we buy all of these? When is this out?
It's available. It's all on Amazon.
Okay.
Or Spotify. Originally it was a little hard finding the record because it's keys, but we actually gave the album a name, When Shadows Fall now. So when you search keys When Shadows Fall, it's going to come up. It's got different Amazon sites in U.S., Italy, England, whatever. So and Spotify as well, it should come up.
It's fantastic. Well, I always love having you on because you always bring great music and you always have a fantastic attitude and conversation with me. So I appreciate that. So what is next for you guys now and what is next for you?
That's strange because I'm so pissed off usually. It's strange that I come off this way because, that's one of the good things about some of these records and keys because I'm able to vent some of the rage as to what's going on in the world. So
yes.
Maybe I think I would go crazy if I didn't have the music to express it, So.
Well, what is next for you as an artist, my friend?
Right now, we're really promoting keys. We got a single coming out, Good Times.
Okay.
House of Lloyds just came out last month, and that's a whole different world. That's on Frontiers Records. And with that, it's a lot easier for me because, Frontiers is a great promotional machine. And, I just got a call from James to, do I have any songs? Can I help out? And we worked, and things just snowballed into me playing keyboards for the band and writing 8 songs on the record, it turned out, which was weird. And then he just amazingly was so dedicated to make them sound great.
Yes.
And sing them wonderfully and, allow them to be what they kind of were supposed to be. But that's kind of is doing its own thing. I don't have to be involved too much in that. And Touch also has just released a new video, Frozen Ground. Because we can't play, we've been releasing, I think we got 8 videos now. This might be our best. Again, it's kind of dark, lying on frozen ground. So I ask people to maybe check that out.
That's
as
awesome.
Well.
That's awesome. Well, you are amazing as always, my friend. I look forward to chatting with you soon. And thanks for chatting with us. And thanks for coming back on the program. And we'll talk to you soon. My
pleasure. I look forward to people checking it out.
Definitely. Well, Mark, you are fantastic, and I will talk to you soon, my friend.
It was a great interview. Thanks, James.
Appreciate it, brother. There he goes.
Bye.
Fantastic. Mark Manigold with us today, and that is going to wrap up this edition of our big program. We will inevitably, as they always say, see you next time. I believe the term is we'll see you next time.